Welcome to the Win, Make, Give podcast. Chad Hyams here. Bob Stewart way over there. Bob, how you doing today?
This is one of those, I already have a slight bit of jealousy. We have a guest today. His last name is just ridiculously cool. And he owns his own web domain for his name, which...
Here we go.
Like,
Bingo square, got it. Bob brought up the fact that his name is so common, he can't own anything that has his name to it. Okay, Bob, we know.
I made it
we
30
feel
seconds.
your
I made
pain.
it 30 seconds without.
We feel your pain. Do you want to just mention your son's basketball before we go on then? Just hit another bingo square?
No. I'll bring it up later.
No baseball card collecting or anything you want to throw in there just so we get the full board before we get going?
Let's go.
All right, Bob, they actually canceled bingo here in my 55 and above community
You're
recently
so old.
on that subject. Because the people that run bingo said they were being mistreated and disrespected by the members of the community. So they canceled bingo that we used to have every Thursday night. Bob, I mentioned that for two reasons. Right. One, I'm pissed off because I want to go play bingo. I mean, you can't live in a 55 and above.
Is it like, do you have real cards and you put the little thing over them? You have like the dappers with the
ink daubers. Ink daubers, right. Yeah, and you have as many and all that stuff. That's one reason I'm pissed. Okay. The second reason I'm bringing it up is not because of anything negative. It's because clearly there was a culture missing in our bingo hall. So I got us a guest that's going to talk about culture today. You see how I did that?
You're really good at those. Before we bring Greg on with the best last name maybe ever,
yes.
Especially this time of year. But bingo, Chad, if you need to get it restarted, I call a mean ass game of bingo. If
you want to fly down every Thursday, we can do that.
My grandfather was the bingo caller in the Lions Hall in Ashford, Washington. My grandmother on the other side was the bingo caller in the old people's place in Brennan, Washington. I come from a long line of bingo callers.
It's a generational thing I see over there in bingo world. Yes, I'm not allowed to volunteer my services because anybody who lives in the community is not allowed to work in the community.
It would be
I cannot be the bingo caller, even though I would be.
I could see you setting up a big bingo scam. You've got a couple of your old buddies there. You're just calling out B5s, and they're like, "All right, bingo." Yeah, I can see it. That makes a lot of sense.
I'm already working on it, Bob. Let's get to our guest, Greg Hawks. Yeah. Not Seahawks, Greg Hawks. Just to taunt you with that, Bob. By the time this airs, you will either still be in the playoffs or have just been eliminated because this should probably drop in the next week or two, and we are in the heat of it right now. Bob, are you willing to bet the mortgage on your Seahawks?
No. What? No. I've been a Seattle fan for my entire life. There's no way. Yeah, zero way.
Just what faith Bob has in his team. Bob, are you willing to bet the mortgage on Greg Hawks bringing some value today?
That I'm willing to bet on.
There you go. That's
a Greg bet.
Welcome to the Win, Make, Give podcast.
It is so great to be here, gentlemen. And what kind of banter is that? I can't imagine anybody wants you to have guests. They're just like, you two just keep on going.
Sometimes, and then sometimes we get the message that says, shut up already.
Like every 50, I can move this thing 15 seconds at a time. How do I get through this thing?
Are they done being like those smart list guys that have a lot more listeners, but skip till they get to the good stuff?
Yeah.
Greg,
Bob, let me tell Bob this also, so he just has a little bit more whatever he has towards me.
His middle name is Steve.
No, I literally just moved to Minneapolis last year, but for the last 34 years, I lived in Oklahoma City.
Oh, God.
Oh, no. You did not go there,
so
Greg.
I feel obligated to share with you.
Wow.
Go
now,
Thunder.
Audience, I'm going to help you all out, audience, because Bob's actually so angry. I think there's tears coming to Bob's eyes right
conversation.
now.
I'm so sorry, Bob.
This will be a solo interview moving forward. If you don't know, folks, if Bob were to rank his favorite sports, I think he'd be hard-pressed
basketball's number one.
to put football ahead of basketball. I think basketball is clearly Bob's number one sport. Yeah. And Bob has talked again and again about his memories of Seattle
it's worse than that. it's worse because so
Tell me.
when the Sonics left, their starting point guard was my ball boy when I was in high school, and his dad was my coach. So Luke Ridnour was my ball boy, and he was the starting point guard there. And I used to go to games all the time. I'd go sit with his dad. I'm 8 rows up. And then that last season, which I guess part of the reason this happened is because they were moving, and we knew they were moving. But I had a really good friend who was a Seattle police officer there. And so I could go down to the game. He would let me in the building. I'd go, and then he'd tell me where to go sit. He'd have an usher picked out. I'd go grab the usher, and he'd be like, yeah, sit in row 7B or whatever. So, and my son was 1. I was taking my boy to all these. Just devastating. Why did you do that to me? Why did you?
I'm sorry. I didn't
moved to Oklahoma City.
It's all
right?
good. It's all good. Look,
I left now. Now I've got Timberwolves. Right. So
Chad, Monty Pratt has been giving me a hard time for 17 years. Every time the Thunder have done something good for 17 years, we got a buddy in Oklahoma City. He reaches out. Hey, did you see what happened? I'm like, leave me alone, Monty. Just leave me alone. So I'm over it.
Yeah.
All right. That's why Monty has never been a guest on the Win Make Give podcast. And Greg, you may never be asked back.
This may not make air.
No, it'll make air because I like mocking poor Bob, yet you might not get the follow-up like some of our others where we've done multiple episodes. You might have just made Bob
it's
shitless.
All good. All good.
Greg, we know you now lived in Oklahoma for a while. We know you're in Minneapolis now. We don't read these beautiful bios that ChatGPT writes for people. Yeah. I turn it over to you. Introduce yourself to our audience how you see fit.
Oh my goodness, such an opportunity, Chad. I have had the privilege for the last 25 years to be in the leadership space. For a decade as an executive director that worked with teenagers that ran summer camps. And then for the last 15 years, just as a consultant, a corporate culture strategist, as it were, and speaker. I speak at a ton of events and really all around shaping ownership. I am passionate about creating environments where people get to show up and bring their best every day and bring ownership and have an ownership mindset and have companies kind of shape that space so people can show up and thrive.
Awesome. And we're going to dive into that. Bob and I feel like we've been on a culture kick a little lately, Bob, with a lot of the guests we've had, some of the conversations we've had. I want to ask a question, though, right off the bat, Greg. I'm going to give a plug first, and that'll lead into my question. Greg just put out, but when this episode drops, his first book, Act Like an Owner, 5 unlocks for creating culture people love and results leaders need. And we're going to dive into this today. When I looked up the book, and I can see it over your shoulder, our audience knows we can see each other, even though we don't show the video. It's green.
Yeah.
Now, I want to know, did the book image come from the wall beside you, which is crazy? Or did the wall become transformed because the book image said, now I got to go green on everything?
Oh, no. Green has been, you go to my website, you'll see the malachite gem has been my branding color. It's got these 5 different layers basically of green in it. And so green shows up in just about everything I do.
Why?
How did that happen? Why?
Great question. I actually when I first got in my business, so funny you guys would ask this question. When I first got in my business, keynoting, my first keynote website, I'm going all in. I did the 4 primary colors because I'm a pretty colorful person. So I was I'm going to do all these 4. The first website was just multicolor. The second group I went with, they said, listen, you can't use all 4 colors. We're going to strip it down to 1. And I said, well, I like all 4. And they said, well, you get 1. And I said, well, I like green the best. And they said, all right, that's what you get. And literally, and what's funny is they didn't even finish that website. I had to send them a letter from a lawyer and all that kind of thing. But they were the ones that were like, pick 1, my friend, and do it. And I was like, well, I will just go with this because it's probably my most favorite. I love the idea of growth. And to me, green is growth and something healthy and something that inspires people to, want to become kind of the most fresh, rejuvenated version of themselves. And so green it is.
Wait, why did you live in Oklahoma City? I feel like that's all brown and oily colored or something.
Now he's just going to take shots. Bob lives in the Emerald City, right?
Right. No kidding.
Bob's in the green city up there.
Yeah, I'm sorry you can't let go of Oklahoma City now. I know it's just All it is
It's going to be
sucking your
stuck
crawl,
in
as they
there.
say.
Yeah, for sure.
It just went. Listen, I went out there when I was 20, so it was a long time ago. I actually worked in a recording studio way back in the day.
How did
Okay.
how does one go from leading? And I think you were on a board at a nonprofit, and you said that you guys led kids and they did summer camps and things. How does somebody go from there to like really being obsessed? I would assume you're obsessed with this concept of ownership.
Yeah, I was the executive director, and our camp was like 65 acres, and we slept 840 kids a week, our summer camp, and we did camps all summer long. So we had thousands of teenagers. And in the midst of running a nonprofit, I also started buying investment properties. So I bought single family homes there in Edmond, Oklahoma, which is one of the least expensive places to live. It's less than probably 10% of where you live, Bob, the housing market there.
Sure.
And so I started buying those as a side kind of like supplemental to a nonprofit existence. And what really happened was I started recognizing how people in the homes that I bought acted. Some of them really took ownership, even though they were renters. Others of them were just renters. They just kind of used it for what they needed. And then some of them were vandals. So those are the three terms that I used to describe the mindsets at work. And I saw in the people that I was working with in this nonprofit space, some of them were really bought in and owned our mission and cared. And some of them were just like biding their time and just kind of renting the space. And then others were really destructive and divisive and were vandals. And so all of that came together. I was like, it really matters how people show up and the space that you create for them too, because I find most people want to start out at work being an owner, contributing, making a difference, bringing their best. But the perversity of the organization typically just crushes out of them. Places say, we want people to buy in, and yet the environment they create just squelches their little spirits. And so, I'll joke, people show up on day one in a meeting and they're like, I've been listening to a podcast. I've been reading some books. I got some ideas. And everybody there is just like, oh my God, who's the new person? Like, settle down, buddy. We'll crush your soul too. Like, we're just trying to get through a meeting. And so they have all this energy to own it, and yet it gets crushed out of them. And then the year comes by and the HR person's like, man, on your annual review here, it seems like you kind of petered out. And like, what happened? And very rarely do people say, I started working here. That's what happened. And this environment just shut me down. So all of that, recognizing those differences and seeing how people work, really created this passion for both creating the space and helping people understand how in their own personal lives they can bring an owner's mindset.
That's really that owners versus renters. Like Chad, Brian Gubernick, he's got this whole spiel that we do in our organization about the difference between like being an owner and a renter and how that person shows up. Yeah. The Vandals part is fascinating to me because we talk about this, Greg, in terms of like real estate sales. So like our kind of parent organization here, you can see it on my hat place. Partners with like 500 real estate teams around the United States, and we run their business operations, whatever. And so those entrepreneurs on the ground have agents that join their team, right? So I was just with one in Fayetteville, Arkansas, and she's got 25 agents on her team.
Hey, now that's a beautiful place.
Yeah, Fayetteville's cool. A beautiful place. I do like Fayetteville. It's Arkansas, but it's probably the best place you could go in Arkansas. That
little corner, definitely.
But
the thoughts and feelings of all the hosts on this show are not reflective by the ownership of the organization. Thank you very much. Anybody from Arkansas?
You got a soft space for Little Rock, do you, Chad?
I don't need Arkansas emails coming at me.
But we talk like when she brings people into her business, this is where the Brian's perspective comes from. It's like they're either coming in as an owner or they're coming as a renter. Sometimes though, in our world, we actually get vandals. We get these like really toxic people that come in and they were, and they start making everybody else think, yeah, you know what, these leads aren't good. Or, why do we all do that together? Because this one toxic vandal is in there. And so that just made me think like, wow, there's actually an extension of that owners versus renters conversation where it's like, you can actually have people in there doing damage.
Yeah. Two things, Bob. First, it sounds like everybody in place should get a book. We should figure out a way to put a book in all of their hands.
Okay. You don't want to offer that yet. That's a lot of books you're sending.
I'm They should purchase those books.
That's what it's touch.
And then second, when you align with Gallup, and this is really one of the things that came out of this book and one of the conversations is because it does align with Gallup's like engaged, disengaged, actively disengaged. And the entire corporate America is like, let's get the disengaged engaged. And how do we do that? And literally 25 years, it moves 1 point in one direction, up and down with no more of a plus three, minus three for 25 years. And it's because the entire strategy is focused on how do we get these disengaged to be more engaged? And that's not the right strategy. The right strategy is how do we get Vandals out of here? And then these disengaged, these renters will step up to be owners, because what happens, people see what's tolerated, what's accepted, what they let happen, and they go, well, it's just not worth me buying in because look how those folks get away. And statistically, Vandals are almost 1 in 5 in every organization. And so the strategy is always, let's really work hard to get the disengaged engaged, instead of how do we arrest and evict these Vandals, which then just creates a space where the disengaged, the renters do want to buy back in, and we create lease purchase options for them to buy back into caring and using their imagination. Because I haven't said it, but my shorthand is, owners bring their heart, head, and hands, renters bring their hands, and Vandals bring division and strife. And so that idea of like, how do you get people to care and use their imagination to think about it again? So
okay, so and you don't know this. We've heard that the Gallup stuff again and again because one of the members of the Win Make Give podcast network, Clint Swindoll, author of Tell Me Something Good, right? He gives us the oh yeahs, the okays, and the oh no's is how he's always phrased it.
And I was just going to say, I think when he talks about that, he talks about like the bottom 20% being the oh no's, the middle 60% being the okays, and the top 20% being the oh yeahs, which you just said 1 in 5 people are a Vandal, which makes a lot of sense.
Right. So it's the Gallup numbers. I mean, we should get this. Folks, if you are an entrepreneur listening to this right now, and you have 10 people working with you, odds are 2 of them have taken ownership, 2 of them are Vandals in your organization, and the other 6 are just kind of hanging out, deciding. And until you release the bottom, they won't ever step up to the top because they're being pulled in both directions. And sadly, those Vandals kind of pull a little harder, actually, because
they have a disproportionate negative effect, Chad. Right. It's so disproportionate. That's what makes it ridiculous. That's why typically entrepreneurs or business owners or C-suite leaders, they go, even if it's just a fifth of them, because I've asked the question, why would you want any Vandals in your organization? But the reality is Vandals exist, what I found, for 4 reasons. Number 1, they're a revenue generator. They are bringing in the cash. And so it's not just as easy to go, oh, that's a toxic person, let's get them out of here, they're really harmful to culture. They're paying for half the team already being there because of the relationships they have, because of the business book of business they've created. So it's not as easy to go, well, let's just get out the Vandals, because they are revenue generators. Yep. The second reason is they've been around a long time, and it's like we haven't dealt with this for the last 20 years. It's really awkward to try. Let's just hope they don't create any lawsuits, and they'll be gone in a couple of years. Third reason is nepotism. That stuff still really works. And then the fourth reason is, ironically, and you just mentioned entrepreneurs, they're the owner of the company. Sometimes when a person has started a company and built something, they'll use their words and say things that create so much division and just unknowing, but they kind of also have an attitude like, listen, I did this before you, I can do this after you, so step up. And they create an environment that creates division, which is just, so unfortunate, but it's just the reality of what people experience.
So you bring a great point to that right there, Greg, that I want to highlight. It's that it's not by production that we're ranking these people.
Oh no.
Right? It's culture that we're ranking these people. So entrepreneurs that are listening, stop for a minute and look at it, because even when I say, you might have immediately answered when I said, well, you've probably got 2 here, 2 there, and the others in the middle. You probably said, no, all of my people are producers. That's not what we asked.
Yeah.
Right? Greg's not talking about producers. Sometimes that producer, the diva on the team, A-Rod when he was a Yankee, right? He was the diva on the team, which was he was an oh no, he was a Vandal to the team, even though, he might have hit a lot of home runs in that situation. Let's get past that. We've identified
hold on. You just say A-Rod? So
when he was a Yankee.
But he started as a Mariner and then he left. Like, why are you guys doing this to me? You guys are like bringing up all of the worst things in Seattle sports history. Should we just let's talk about the Super Bowl? You want to talk about the Super Bowl and the Patriots at the 2-yard line? Like, what are we doing here?
We are. Greg and I communicated earlier and said, how many ways did we screw with Bob and Seattle sports?
I knew it. It's my turn. I'm going to go now. I'm so fired up. I can't even. No. Can I?
You need to calm.
Well, so you said 25 years we've been corporately trying to figure out how do we get people more engaged, and it hasn't moved any. Are Vandals capable of being saved or changed? We just are like, they're a Vandal, get them out of here.
I arrest and evict. That's my consulting. It's how do we create lease purchase options, as you know? How do we get people who are renting to go, hey, I want to buy back in? And with Vandals, I'm like, send them somewhere else. They're destructive and divisive.
We don't even want to put the energy and effort into trying to make them a
it's not an easy thing to do because, when you have somebody hitting all the home runs, I always use Prince, because now I'm in Minneapolis. It's really important that you recognize there are people that as an owner of a company or the C-suite leadership, you go, okay, they're not going to be part of the team. Prince, if he worked at a, music store, he wasn't giving guitar lessons. He was there to model what it looks like if you owned a guitar. And he's going to be in this separate space. Lots of people think they're Prince. Almost nobody is, but they want to be treated that way. So for the rare occasion, like he's not a team player. He doesn't care what anybody else is doing. But man, everybody comes in and watches him play. He's selling guitars and everybody else is paying. So it's one of those things that if you don't appreciate that gifting or that talent, then you'll just be like, he doesn't come to our team meetings. How come he doesn't come to our, offsite retreats? And it's just not right. It's just not fair. So some of that stuff builds up. But they are the very rare exception. Okay. Most of our players, even the A-list players, high-level producers, they function better in context of collaboration in the team.
Can I put you on the spot and ask you the mean question, like the hard question? Okay, so you wrote a book about helping us change the culture, yet you just told us that over the last 25 years, this has moved maybe plus 3%. I could probably show you thousands of books. Greg, what's different in your coaching, consulting, writing that's going to finally be the thing that 5 years from now, Gallup says, find that Greg guy, it's finally changed?
Chad, I don't know if I can take that burden, but I will say the thing we've been talking about, the Vandals, that's a unique point of view that I bring to it that most people don't focus on that and creating a way to exit them, right, in a consulting kind of setting. The second thing with the unlocks, what they do is they both create the environment and they work for the person to show up with the owner's mindset. So the book, because you guys know this, a lot of people are renting their own lives personally. They're making excuses, they're justifying, they're blaming, they've got all this stuff out here. So it's like, we can create a great culture and yet people still just show up negative, full of excuses, unwilling, haven't attached meaning to their life, to the job they're doing. And so they don't care. And so there's this duality of, there's this triple really. Business has to produce results. We got to produce results. Like at the end of the day, business isn't here to be a daycare for adults. It's not like we're here to make all of the meaning of your life realized. We're here to serve communities, clients, sell in ways that make the world better. You're here to create a team that does that with high levels of excellence, find your meaning in that, and find how you bring your gifts and talents and abilities, be a resource to others, whether you're a mentor or a mentee, and kind of find your place that way. And then third, in your own personal life, how do you translate that back to your home and your families? And so the distinction on my book, I think, has this duality of there's a deep responsibility on the individual as well as a strong responsibility for the corporation. A lot of books that are in this space, people resist it because they're like, if I'm acting like an owner, basically the company wants me to sell my soul to the business. And I've seen how the top level work, and I don't want to do that. And so, this book has this, it goes both ways. And how does organization create a return on investment that makes it worth for them to make the sacrifices necessary to be fulfilled. So engagement happens when hard work is at play. You don't create the easiest place to function to create engagement. You create friction and tension around things that people are passionate about, and that's what engages them.
Can I? You can. I feel like Chad sets me up. I actually do think you guys talked in advance and had like a plan. Because Greg runs marathons, but here's my question.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, bullshit.
Bob does the social stalking. I did not. Bob does the social stalking of you, so now he knows that we're both going to get on him about health and how important health is. Do you see? And okay, do you see that as something that is part of an organization and a responsibility to get your renters to become owners? Is health a big piece of that?
Can I open that up a little bit? Because I guess like my more open question there is, do I as a leader in my organization need to concern myself with that person's life and happiness outside of work? Like, do I need to try to actively influence it, I guess? Like, yes, I should. I think just as a human, I should be concerned if they're, happy and well taken care of financially and don't have the stresses of getting up. But like, do I proactively need to be trying to influence their, kind of their makeup outside of my organization?
Here's what's happened, Bob. I have always found it's best not to resist reality. And that over the last 30 years, companies, businesses, organizations, small mom and pops, and international conglomerates have taken on or have been tasked with the burden to be more and more of a one-stop shop for a human being. They used to have much stronger religious affiliations in their community. They used to have more activities in their communities, whether it was YMCAs that they gathered around. They used to have other leagues, whether it was the AMVETs or, some of the older generations does, the Eagles Club.
Chad's got bingo. Chad has bingo. Yep.
Right. Yeah. So that place, but literally, and it's just true. The workplace has been tasked and asked to provide that for next generation leaders because they're not getting it in most other places. Their society has shrunk to a digital experience and honestly, the home, the way it has evolved over the last 30 years has caused a lot more independence and people. That's why belonging, the last 5 years, belonging has been such a thing because there's a sense of, I don't belong anywhere and I work at this place 40, 50 hours a week. I want to feel like I belong here because I'm not getting it anywhere else. So the reality is smart leaders, not resisting reality, not acknowledging societal changes, recognizing that work is now more than work in a lot of cities and communities and the relationships people have. Gallup used to do if you have a best friend at work, there's just so much more relational equity that can happen at a workplace that's physical, that doesn't happen anywhere else. And so, yes, if you're going to be an effective leader, unfortunately, the job has expanded. That's why, and I'm glad you guys are talking more about culture, because it's like, well, how do we set up the space? Because both of you got 24 hours a day, just like I do, and you just can't micro care. Right? It's not managed. It's like, I want to care about all these people I'm tasked to lead. I want to be invested. I want to let them know I'm interested and I'm listening and they're seen, their voice is heard. And so, but I'm just one guy. So how do I do that with 20 direct reports and their downline? Got to create an environment and create a place then where there's these shared sense of responsibility. And it doesn't need to come from me at the top leadership, but the collective that we've created in this space enables people to do that. And that's what an owner's mindset creates as a possibility.
Chad, I asked that question because like when I look at Ben, so we have the founder of our company. I think he's the leader in my organization, and he's masterful at. Look, he's got this thing where he says he only like hires people that are a direct report to him because now our organization has thousands of people in it, right? But early on, and still to this day, if you directly report to him, like he has to love you, like he has to love you and you have to get results. We talk about love and results, but the love side of it being like, I like this person enough that I would like invite him over to my house for Thanksgiving, and we interact that way. And in our leadership, like I like all of the people that I get to work with. And so when they step into my life, Ben, right? Like I like it. Like, and so it draws me more into the organization because we go to a baseball card show together, or he brings my kids up and he lets them hang out in his shop or whatever that is. But, I just wonder, like, is that required? Like, do we, and you're saying like, maybe, like in a best case, because people aren't getting that feeling of belonging.
Listen, I don't know if you hear yourself, Bob, but it sounds like you're pretty engaged at work.
Super engaged. Yeah. Like I'm just super duper engaged.
So that's kind of the answer.
Bob's an owner.
Can I ask you a question around that? Because look, I really buy into like what our mission is. Like our mission is delivering the dream of home ownership everywhere. And I'm a firm believer in home ownership as like a societal good, right? So like even from a foundation of like why I show up to work every day, like I'm bought in. Can everybody find that kind of meaning? And does everybody need to, and can everybody? Because I think of like, Chad, don't cover your ears. I drive down to my local McDonald's here every once in a while and go through the drive-thru, and I look at the person there, and sometimes the person at the drive-thru is like really engaged, and I'm like, how do they show up with so much? And sometimes they're just like, you can tell they don't even want to be there, and there's, does every role have the capacity to find like meaning to the job?
Yes. But it's not, but you, because of your maturity and your exposure and your experience, you're able to go, I have a real passion about home ownership. Like that means something to me. Other people, that's why values in a company matter, because everybody doesn't have that value. And so they're not going to thrive there. But even in a McDonald's drive-through, that 16-year-old or 17-year-old doesn't really know how to find that unless a leader comes and says, you know what, every person you're talking to, this could be the highlight of their day, getting that shake, the vanilla milkshake machine is working today. And so they come through and we are creating hope and joy in their life. And so your meaning might not be working at McDonald's, but man, that one interaction with that person handing them the shake or the Big Mac, it's a moment of joy for them. You be a deliverer of joy. And they're like, okay, I can find meaning around that.
I like that.
Okay. All right. We're talking with Greg Hawks, and we're not done with him. Website is greghawks.com, and it's green. And I got to tell you, it's up on my second screen while we're talking, and it keeps catching my eye because like this really dark green blob keeps like showing up and moving through the screen every now and then. It's kind of freaking me out. I'm like, what was that?
Wait a second. Are you?
I'm on the book page. Yeah, I'm on the book page. Okay. Now there's this green blob that keeps moving. Yeah. The book is called Act Like an Owner, 5 Unlocks for Creating Culture People Love and Results Leaders Need. You can get it at greghawks.com, or you can get it wherever you're going to get your books, Amazon, if you want to just make your life easy, put it right onto the Kindle or the Audible version or whatever is out there for you. Greg, here's what I want to know. We've been talking a lot about culture. We've been we can hear it. Vandals, I think that was a great point, right? Evict them. Have them arrested or evicted. Get rid of them. Move them on. Okay, so I get rid of them. Others will show up. Some of the renters in there are going to become vandals. We're going to keep.
No, they're going to step up and become owners. All right.
We're going to hope so, because that's going to be my question, right? What is it when the vandals are gone? What's the activity I, as the leader and clear owner, I am engaged in my own company. What is the activity I should be focusing on to help those renters buy back in? That lease option example you gave, and say, hey, you can now buy back in, and I got rid of those people that were screaming down the street that made you want to move out of the neighborhood.
Well, one of the things that I use is a framework for an ROI. Everybody knows that finances are a baseline, but understanding and this is where it gets to what Bob was talking about, understanding what drives individuals and what keeps them. First, being able to have transparent conversations. Say, hey, listen, we just got rid of, the guy that you've been talking to HR about for the last 6 months. They're gone, and they were a contributor in these ways, and so. You said something about this, something's been done. So first, we want you to notice your voice matters to us, and we need you now to step up. So I think a flat out direct ask is usually a really great start, because it just reflects transparency and trust. That, I talk about that in thick terms and how thick the trust is you have with people. It enables you to have those kind of conversations. But then identifying what their return is. I call it the EFROG: emotions, finances, relationships, opportunities, and growth. So some people are motivated by, hey, I'm a go-to person. I like to feel like that. And so when you call on them to, hey, we got to work late, we got to do this, we got to work over the weekend, we got these things. Some people go, I like being a go-to person. I like when you call me, it's not even my department. Or, okay, so this person's gone and now you're saying I need to do it. I like seeing myself that way. That emotional hit of being like, I'm counting on you. They get something from that. Not everybody does, but there are segments of the population who have an identity attached to that. And when you know that, you're like, they're going to get an emotional return that they're like, I love sacrificing because I feel good about using my life that way for my colleagues and for making up. So they got that. The relational, some people are like, listen, I want to get, man, I'm hearing Bob talk about I want to have a relationship with that guy. How do I get to be in an environment? What do I need to do? What do I need to go on? What extra work do I need to do to put me in the room with that person? Because I just want to be around them. So that's really next gen leaders and also people that are very serious about how do I keep being intentional about my growth? And the same with, I won't spend more time on it, the opportunities and the growth and relationships. So like all of those things, those opportunities, growth, and relationships usually kind of roll together in this way of, listen, if we now counting on you, and this is going to set you, we're going to send you to a conference, we're going to send you to a training, we're going to sign you up so you can grow in these new ways that you couldn't before. People are motivated by that. That's a return. They're like, I want to give myself to that because now I'm going with the people. I've never been to that conference. They used to just send these people, and now I'm a part of that, and I get to go. So it's that kind of thing that is as a leader, it's always how are we intentionally tapping into the motivations of people that isn't this external hype, but really aligns with their sense of being. Because again, I'm always trying to press for how do we get them to own it themselves? Like it aligns with what they've already owned about themselves. And even where they're making excuses, as a leader, and I'm sure you've had this happen where somebody sees something in you and says something about it and you go, I didn't even see that myself, right? That's the greatest gift of leadership is to speak to the potential of others. And they go, I'm going to live into that. I'm going to lean into how you see me. So it's not this external thing. It's this internal embrace of an identity that they go, I like being that kind of person. And so I'm going to do that. So you engage people in that kind of, for me, that understanding of what their return on investment is, because every single one of us are doing what we do because we get a return from it. Every single one of us at any level of work, play, relationships, we get, and that's not selfish. It's not wrong. It's the nature of humanity. So understanding that and not manipulating it, but using it for the good of others is really, really useful.
Chad, I talk about him all the time because there were these small Scott Smith. I had a leader at one point, Greg, early in my career, and he was, a big executive at this company, and I'm in my early 20s, and I just, I'm working hard and wanting somebody to notice. And this guy would stop by my desk and like, hey, I saw that thing you did. Thinking back, like I doubt he ever saw the thing I did, but he would like, there would just be it was this relational, like he was just grabbing me and pulling me up. And I didn't know it at the time. It wasn't until years later when we had the company and I was kind of him now, right? Like I could walk through the halls and people, hey, there's Bob or whatever. And I think I don't know how long, but for too long, I did not realize the gravity of what it meant when I walked through the halls at our company, right? And I would just walk through the halls. And I don't even know why. It might have been through the podcast chat at some point when I brought up how Scott would do that to me, that I realized like, holy cow, I have a chance to do this for like other people in our organization. And it was so simple. Like it was literally the difference between walking from my office and I've got 15 minutes to get down to the end of the building to where I need to be in 15 minutes. And I used to just wait in my office or whatever and then walk down there with 1 minute left. But when I started walking down there with 15 minutes and saying, hey, Jimmy, I saw that thing that you were working on yesterday. That was amazing, man. You crushed that thing. Like I think as leaders, a lot of times we underestimate how much impact we can have in just a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Give him a pat on the back for it, Greg.
Yeah, good job.
There you go. All right. And I'll tell you this, what I remember about Scott Smith, Bob Stewart. Scott Smith's the one who pulled me aside one day and said to me, make sure you're creating rocking chair moments. And I asked him what a rocking chair moment was. And he says, those are the moments that at the end of your life, when you are sitting in the rocking chair with whoever it is you've chosen to have beside you, they're the ones you're going to remember while the sun is setting. So to all of our audience, create a rocking chair moment sometime in the next few months. Let's honor Scott Smith. Since Bob keeps mentioning him, we'll put him on the bingo card, Bob, as a place for including when you work Scott into the conversation. All right, Greg, I'm going to put you on the clock. I'm going to give you 30 seconds. This is the speed round, 30 seconds. Folks, we've been talking with Greg Hawkes. We've told you can check him out at greghawkes.com. You can find his book, Act Like an Owner, on his website. You can find it on Amazon. It's literally probably just dropped or dropping, depending when Dave drops this episode. Greg, you got 30 seconds wrapping this episode up. What is it you want everybody to remember, take away? Maybe it's something you said already. Maybe it's something you haven't said yet. I'm putting you on the clock. Go.
I think this final conversation that Bob just referenced, being a person who sees the potential in others and says something about it, and they say it specifically. So to leave this, entrepreneurs, leaders, the greatest gift we can give to others is to notice, to say, and then it creates this reciprocity that it draws people to you, not just these moments that Chad's speaking of, but even in the moment, it creates this reciprocity that says, man, I want to be more like that myself, just as Bob modeled. And I think that's the ownership mindset and the ownership spirit that says, I'm taking responsibility for those entrusted in my care, those that I have leadership over, to not just use them for the company, but to see their potential realized in every aspect of life.
Yo, hey, that might be one of the best 30-second little recaps we've had, Chad. Like, we're 500 episodes in. That was a really good one, Greg. Thank you.
Oh, I didn't think Bob would say a nice thing, Greg, after all the other shots we've taken at him. Look, if you owned a property and you had a vandal living in it, you would get them evicted. You got to do the same thing with your business. Evict those vandals so that the business grows, providing ownership opportunities for everyone you let in. Remember it, keep it in mind, and until our next episode, as always, do good.